and found a seat for me on one end of the car, on the railroad car, to go down there. Well, I thought, now, where am I going to stay when I get there? Well, I thought, well, gee, the YWCA would be a good place to stay, so that's where I headed. So we stayed at the YWCA, and next morning when we wakened up, the baby was just covered with bedbug bites.
Oh,
He was bright red with red bedbug bites. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. But somebody else took us in at their house, and thank goodness for that. They took us in, and of course, I didn't have baby beds to put him up, but I put him in a dresser drawer. Dresser drawers where he slept that night. But he was...
Can you imagine one of my dad or any of his brothers that were all the same size as him in a dresser drawer?
Just the drawers.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, what a time.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, when we went down there, I'll tell you a little funny thing. When we went down there, of course, I had to eat at the restaurant, and I took Jimmy with me, and we were eating at the restaurant. And here's a nice little cup of something with red in it. It was red. He thought it was something to drink. And he picked it up and went to drink it, but it wouldn't come out. It was Jell-O.
Oh!
He was so surprised when his drink wouldn't come out.
Oh, poor Uncle Jim.
A funny one.
Yeah? Yeah?
Oh, shoot.
Fun
But
story.
I'll tell you another. When his troop came back, they were sent up into Boston, Massachusetts. And when, of course, we heard that, we got to get up there. So we stayed in another place, a little town out from there. And the man that owned the town, owned the place where we stayed, had 2 houses to keep people. One he kept the people that were married but didn't have any children, and the other he gave to the people that had little children. Well, he did that because he says the people that didn't have children, they could keep each other warm. But the ones that had the little ones, he gave them a ration that they were allowed to have for their houses to the ones that had the babies.
To heat the house.
To heat the house.
Heat the house.
Oh, that was a funny.
Rationing, can you imagine?
Rationing.
Yeah.
And then later on, he was in Boston for a while, and he was home on his dad's funeral service. His troop was sent out again, so he didn't catch up with them. But he stayed on what we called Station Force for a while up there in Boston. And so we stayed at this old house for quite a while, and the women would take their child, and we had a schedule where you could take your child and use the kitchen to feed them. But we had a schedule everybody wasn't there at the same time. Oh, it was odd.
That's something.
And one time we had one of the fellows that made that Christmas tree by then he had joined up with a submarine group, and that was an advancement for him. But they came to visit us while we were at this other place because he knew all the fellows that were there.
Yeah.
Well, we just took a rope and hung a rope across the room so that they could have their privacy and we could oh, I tell you.
You remember who that was?
Yes.
Who was it?
Well, his name, let's see. Was it Otis? I can't remember at the moment.
Right.
And I remember meeting that woman before they were just going out. We were at the train station, and he came up to your dad, and he says, come on over. I want you to meet my wife. He just got married to this girl, and they lived in Akron, and we lived in Canton.
Oh, wow.
Well, they were good. We were good friends while they were gone, and we stayed good friends all the rest of their time. But Dad, of course, told her husband that I could tell I knew where they were.
Uh-oh.
And, of course, they were anxious to know where he was. They came to visit me, but we were cautioned never, ever tell anybody where you knew your husband was, ever. So I didn't tell them, but they kind of held that against me for a while, but didn't last too long. We were good friends after that. And spent a lot of time with each other. And they lived in Florida. I lived in Florida down there for, part of the time in the year.
Yeah.
And we would visit back and forth and that sort of thing. By then, he was a higher military guy than your dad was, because he was in the submarine service, and he could advance. And he was a little bit younger than most of the group that he was attached to. But he got attached to that group somehow. But he was always
Amazing.
kind of kept him going, I guess, because he was younger.
Tell them about when you were in Rhode Island.
Huh?
When you were in Rhode Island and you were pregnant and you had to cut the grass with a pair of scissors because they wouldn't help.
Huh?
You told us a story about when you were in Rhode Island and you had to cut the grass with scissors because they wouldn't help. And then somebody took pity on you out there, a pregnant woman, cutting the grass with scissors, and they came over and helped cut the grass at one of the cottages.
I don't remember
Yeah,
that.
she told us that story once.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
There's some of the pictures I had. You've got them here somewhere. Were those days.
Yeah.
So Mark could write a book about World War II with those letters. So we'll have to get them to him, and he can study it up.
Jenny and Dan have the
Well, he and
letters.
Bo are reading about World War II right now.
Yeah.
They've been reading at night. Every night they read a book. It's a big
He's got the letters somewhere.
big book about World War II. They've been reading that at nighttime.
Are we talking to somebody?
Yeah, Katie.
You're still talking to them?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, we're taking up their good day.
I'm listening to you tell stories,
She's
Grant
listening to
Cracker.
the stories. She
Tell
said.
them about, she was not happy that the president sent them all to war. So she wrote this pretty strong letter to him, and she was always told not to send the letter the first day, so she hid it at the 7th Street house where they were, and they never found it in that house. It's hidden in the attic in that house.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's still there, but I never got an opportunity.
And I think it was to Roosevelt, wasn't it? Was it to Roosevelt?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Was it to
President
Roosevelt? You were writing Roosevelt, was it?
Roosevelt was the president.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. She was not happy because he was getting sent out, and she was going to give him what for about that.
I probably could have written a few of those too.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could, Katie.
Yeah.
So somebody will tear that house down someday and find that letter, probably.
Well, the last time we went down there, this little black boy come out, and Dan parked the car in front of the house. He said, "Stop the car, let me look at this place again." And the little black boy came over to the car, and he says, "What are you looking at?" I said, "I used to live here." Oh boy, I thought his eyes would pop out of his head.
Aww.
But they didn't invite me in. But anyway, that was a nice house, and that's where I grew up as a child. We moved there when I was, just before I entered kindergarten. They took that house because it was in a good school district. And then we lived there, all of us. The twins were born there, and, I don't know when we did sell it.
Well, Donna lived there.
Yeah, and Donna lived there. Donna lived there.
Oh, yeah. The cousins somehow were at the house. And